Welcome guys to the fourth part of our video tutorial series that we are writing CRUD application, basically a job portal application into AngularJS version 4.0. Last time we were basically looking into this. So we were basically talking about the provider properties here and how we will be injecting the services here. So let's say, for example, if we realize that this greeter service is needed in different parts of the application, then we'll be registering in the global scope. Or if you just need for one or two component of the application, then basically we can do that registration, basically injection, basically into the component label. Let's see how we do that into a home controller, home component. Sorry, not controller. Here is our home component, and basically we can do this provider registration right here also in the component label. In this case, the home component. And then once that is done, we can basically inject that into our constructor of this class here, and then we can basically call the method exposed by this guy right here. Okay, that's the part we and if we can see right here that the piece is working, the injection is working. As you can see, this little piece is basically returned by that method call. Okay, no big deal. Okay, so I don't need this one for now. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this piece of code. All right. Okay, let me go ahead and close all the other. So many files is cluttered up. Okay, so there is a couple of things I would like to clean this up right here. So this into the import section right here, we have these route informations. Here's a path of the route and the corresponding name and the mapping component. So instead of this, here's a map. Let's say right now the application is very simple. We have a couple of components, but as the application grows, we will have huge amount of code here into this main app module file. So instead of having this one here, it's a good idea to have its one file, its one location, so that if somebody has to come here and add a component, they don't have to come into this page. They can just go into the page that is strictly for the route. Okay, so to do that, let's go ahead and into this app folder, we can add a folder here. Let's add a folder called job routes. Into job route, I'm going to add a file here, a TypeScript file. Job routes. Let's call it a job route, not the JavaScript file, but the TypeScript with the extension TS. And then I'm going to grab this piece of code up to here. And I want to even before that, I need to import. Before I can do that, I need to import from core Okay, I need to import the routers here, okay, because we're dealing with the routes. So I need to basically import this module. The cool thing about Angular is that it's a really optional, because like different kind of modules are located in different packages. So if you need a router, then you basically need to import the router. If you need HTTP, which we'll be needing later, we'll be loading HTTP. So from here, we need to get routes. We need to get the we need to import the routes object from this router package. And then now I can copy this. Let's define this guy as a constant developer job routes. That's what it is, right? It is of a type routes. This is how we can define here. So of course it doesn't know all this kind of thing. It knows what component is because but just we don't have all these components. It doesn't exist here, so we also need to export those into this location from here. So let's grab these components. Let's import this component in there. So the problem right now is, of course, they doesn't exist in this location. They are in a different location. So we are inside the. Here is our app folder, and this is our job routes. So their location is different. So we have to change the location. We need to identify proper location. Okay, this is where we have to go into this. That's where all our components are, right? So this is app component. So let's just change that one. It's pretty easy. I don't really care about greeters here because I don't need that service here. So we just need a component and this main route component. So we have this route defined in this particular page now. So once this is defined, so now instead of, let's go ahead and import this one into this main module. You'll say import from where is our route? Come on, Visual Studio. That's our app. We can still see this one. What if here? Job routes. Okay. Inside here, job routes. And then we can now say develop. Okay, see, it now figures out. Okay, that's where our route is. So basically, instead of instead of having all these here, we basically replace this piece of code with this. Okay, that is good. So as we discussed last time, so this declaration section basically contains all the components. It is all the component and the pipes and the directives that our application have. We can basically also extract it out. We don't really have, so that our this section looks really neat and small. We can refactor that one also. For now, just leave it. We can just leave it here, or we can refactor if we need to, but it's okay. All right. So once that is done, let's go ahead and add. Let's make sure our application is not broken. Let me go ahead and run. Because we kind of like extracted out, did some refactoring, so by doing that, I mean, the chances that we might have broken the application. Okay, seems like the application is what is job route? There is unterminated string literal. Okay, so we have JavaScript typo here. Let's see why it is failing. Unterminated typo. Oh, okay, it is missing. That is what it's complaining about. That's a good catch. Okay, let's make sure that should fix that. Okay. So right now we have this, little add job section, but this we don't have any add job component defined. Let's go ahead and add this new component. The very first thing we can do, of course, this component doesn't really exist. We're going to create this one. It will be, let's say, we're going to create that into add job directory, a folder, and name of this can be add job component. Okay, let's come in here into our this is a red squiggly. It's okay because we haven't created our component, so we're going to come in here and add a new folder called add job. And into add job, let's add some files here. All right, we have add job component, and if we look into here, this thing it is happy now because it can see that file here, and of course it doesn't have that class. Now we have to add the class. Instead of typing, I just want to copy that code and modify it. So here, add job component, that's the name of our class. This can be add job HTML file and then add job component.css file. Let's say the name of the selector, add job. And let me add those HTML file also. Is HTML. Okay, that's fine. We don't need a CSS file right away, but it's okay just to have it. We have proper pattern going. Okay. Okay, so we have add job component also here. And make sure it's still running fine. Oh, it's not even running. Let's go ahead and build, make sure it's okay. Well, it's running that one. So in our here's a job route. Now we should be able to add a route here. This okay, here is add. So basically we can define a new route here. Let's call it, the path going to be add job, and the name of the component is JavaScript add job component. And we also need to register this into our main module. We come in here in the declaration section of that decorator. We're just going to add this. Add job component. Okay, let's go ahead and save everything. What's going on there? Okay, we got a bunch of problems. So module failed. Why is it failing? It's failing into add job component, the CSS file. Okay, I know why. Because that's not a valid CSS. Get rid of that. And that's not a valid HTML. So let's say just have a div tag here. Just gonna say add job page just for now. Let's see, does it fix that issue? Okay. Okay, so right here we can see add job page is basically now visible. Now we have this component add job is defined. That's where we will be of course writing our HTML. This page basically contains the whole form that we should be able to submit. Okay, this can be our sale page. So now we have our page defined. Let's make this a little S2 tag instead of div tag, so it's a little bigger. Okay. So at this point, of course, next thing we're going to do, we're going to write our service. We're going to define our service, and then from the service we can we should be able to call. We can basically go into backend database and paste the services. Okay. Paste the data. Sorry. Okay. Let's into this service right here. Let's go ahead and define new service. Let me go ahead and close. We already have a folder called services. Into it, I'm gonna add a new item. Developer job data service. Okay, so let's write a class, export a class called data service. That's going to be our data service. And then, of course, because like we'll be going into a server, we'll be using HTTP module. So in this point, we'll need to import, as you might have guessed, from Angular HTTP. We need to load this module here because that's what that provides for us to go make HTTP request to the backend database. So from here we need to import module called HTTP. Okay, so let's define a constructor here. This is a constructor. This constructor takes the HTTP, and we're going to specify the type of that is HTTP object. So this is our basic constructor here. And then let's say I'm also going to define for now private base URL as a string, and I'm going to initialize that URL as this is because we'll be using the API JSON that returns us the JSON data. This is how the endpoint going to look like. So in here we can define a method. First thing, we have those bunch of lookup tables like industries, the job type, all those kind of things. That's what we're going to fetch. We're going to fetch those data because we have data access in the backend database. Let's write a public method here. Get all industry types. So it basically what happens is like this. For example, oops. I was missing that. That's why it's acting really weird. Why it is not? That closes there. This closes here, and my class is closed here. Say private, then that's where it becomes visible. Yes. Okay, so without this private, it doesn't know what that is, so I have to say private so it recognizes what HTTP is. And then I'm going to call get method, and I pass that base URL plus and we need to know the endpoint of the industry. To find that out, we have to go into, there is our controller called industries controller. It has this endpoint. That's what we need here. And this guy basically it returns. This guy basically returns if you put a mouse cursor here, it will tell you returns the observable response. So that's all we can do here. So this basically our service is now defined. But of course, we have to. And most important thing here, we need to decorate this service with something called injectable decorator. So we need to say injectable. But of course, it doesn't know where the injectable really resides, so we need to import the module, as you might have guessed. So import from Angular why is it's kind of crazy why it is behaving like that. Let me copy this one. Okay, so here I think that it exists in the core, the injectable. The injectable decorator is basically exists in that core library, so that's why we had to import that. And now we can decorate our class, our service class, as injectable. Okay, that is our service ready to be. Oh, it's injectable. Okay, it has to be injectable like as a method call. Okay, it is happy now. So let's go into even before that, like we need to define our models. For example, corresponding to industries. So basically, let's add one more folder into our app. In here, I'm gonna add a folder. Yeah, I'm gonna add a folder. Model. Of course, this model is not the same as the model that we had used for the server side. It is client-side model. So in here, we're going to write, let's add a JavaScript file here. Not JavaScript, a TypeScript file. I'm going to say industry type. Export an interface called industry type, and it will have some properties ID of type numeric. Oh, not the numeric, is of course the type is number here. I think it has property called name as a string, and I don't know, I have to look it into how it is in the server side. Let me take a look in here. Industry. Okay, let me just copy this one so I can. Okay, so I have property called description of type string, and then is active of type boolean, and created date as a date type. And I don't need this one. Okay. Why it is complaining? Interface declaration can only be used in TS file. Oh, okay, yeah. Because instead of TS, I forgot to add the extension TS here, so that's why it is complaining. Because JavaScript doesn't know what the TS and all those interface and everything is, because it has to be converted into object. It has to be transpiled, so it doesn't know that's why it was complaining. That's fine. It's not going to complain anymore. It's a TypeScript code. Okay, so we have our model, our industry model, and we have a service to face that data. So at this point, what we can do, Now we can go into our job routes here. Not job routes, into our component, and here is our job model. So in here we need to import those services. We're gonna import our model, where our model resides. So that's where our model is, and the name of the file, industry. Okay. And I don't know, what did I name it? Okay, so industry type. Okay, we have industry type, our model is defined. Now let's also import the service here. Oh, I cannot type. These are services, and the name of our service is developer job data services. Okay, so now we have this guy, the services here. So into the constructor of this class, this object here, we can expose constructor private, let's call it data private, let's call it data service, and type of this one is developer data service. Okay, here's our constructor. Well, actually we can test this one here. So now we can say let's define, just for now, just to test it, define a private property, private field called industry types. It's going to be of type industry type, that. Why is, okay, it's not complaining. So we define this property here of data type industry type, basically referring to our interface array of those. And then here, let's see, inside the constructor, we can say, all right, this data service get all industry type. It exposes a couple of methods. One of them is a subscribe method, and subscribe it gives JSON data for us, something like that. And okay, this is basically, if you guys are new to JavaScript, this is basically a lambda, kind of like a lambda expression or arrow function they call it. So basically this one is as if we had a callback function here, right? Because it takes a response as an input. The idea is like we just have one parameter. That's why we don't even have to do something like this. It automatically figures it out that this lambda, this arrow function, this is the parameter of the, just imagine this is a callback, this is function. It takes input parameter as a response from there, and we can do something like this, the industry types equals to that. But of course, you know, it doesn't, this doesn't know industry, it doesn't know what it, because we have to say something like, as we can cast that as industry type, something like this. Okay, let's see if this one works. So basically, if it works, well, at this point we should be able to and that this one closes here. So we can just to see what the industry type is, whether this will tell us whether it's fetching our data or not. Just log that information here, the industry types. Okay, so if everything is good, so it should be start returning data for us. Okay, it's not even running. All right. Okay, if I go in here, nothing is happening. It seems. Let's take a look here. Refresh this page. Let's look it into. Oh, we got a problem. Okay, so this one says, all right, no provider for developer data service. That is very, very important. Remember, like we were talking about that providers thing, whether to inject our service into globally or into particular component. So just for right now, we have just one component to start with. So let's register this one into the component label. Let's go into our developer add job component here, and then we need to register that service. Otherwise, it doesn't know. It hasn't. So basically, it start looking into the component. If it's not in component, maybe it also goes into the. For instance, here it doesn't. So nothing is being registered here also. So it basically throws the exception. Hey, I could not find any registration of that service. So so we have to register it here. Okay, that's no problem. We would like to, just for now, we will register here. But later on, I'm pretty sure the need arise because we'll have edit feature, we have all the different kind of feature. So we will start injecting this into globally in a way. Okay, if I do this, then and run this application, hopefully this error should go away. Okay, still something is not right. Okay, so just looking at it, seems like I had some typo. Seems like okay. So I was missing this trailing, this forward slashes. That's why it was not going into the right place. So basically, and now I also added this error logic in case error occurs. So this basically is pretty simple right now. So we have a service. We have in the service expose the method called get all industry types, and since it's returned the observable response, so they expose the method called subscribe. And we have this arrow function or lambda function. This result has a bunch of methods. One of them is a JSON data. It returns the data as a JSON. And then we have defined our model in such a way so we can easily cast that JSON data that we got into this our industry type object. And when I log this one, so basically it's printing all the data. Okay. So right now, nothing is in the page. Of course, we haven't done anything. But if we look it into developer console right here, developer tools, and we have our data, this right here. See, all the data is coming out proper. It's okay. Here is our ID, the name, and whether it's active or not, and when the created date. That's basically. So now we have a data coming in. The next thing we can do, of course, we can do a binding using AngularJS. At the same time, let's go ahead and write another service server method, because we also need to get the company types. They are also going to be pretty straightforward. Let's just do into developer's job here. I'm going to get company types. One more method. Job types and company type. Get all company types. Get all job types. Oops. And of course, the endpoint going to be different for job company types. It would be company types, and this would be job types. We're going to do a similar kind of model defined for this one too, because those two objects have similar kind of, all those three objects have similar kind of structure. So I'm going to go into this model. The convention of having I before the name is my convention. I mean, like, because I came from C# background, you know, all the interface basically. By convention, all C# has I as a prefix. That's why it's my habit, but it's not really needed. But it's kind of good in a way. It's good practice in TypeScript also, so people reading your code understand. Oh, okay, you're referring to this interface. Okay, this is a company type, and just going to be I job type. They have similar kind of properties, so that's all I have to do. And then into our component here, we not only importing these, we can also import the company type, and we can also import the job type. So just like this, we can define some private properties here. Let's call it job types, company types. That is the type, data type, and this is I job type. Okay. Just like this, we can this constructor, of course, right now we will not have a bunch of code. We can refactor this because we have a bunch of code going on inside the constructor. But if for now it's okay. So we have data service. We can say get all company types. We have similar kind of structure, and of course it cannot cast that. Well, the company types here. Company type. We can do that, and here get all job types. I job type. Okay. So if everything is working as like the first one that it worked, we should have like a 3 HTTP requests. So basically going into the backend server, we have a 3 query sending into a database and fetching the data. Let's give it a try. Well, of course, it doesn't show anything here, but we have to go into developer tools. Okay. Okay, so for some reason, our job type is coming out okay, our industry is coming out, our this guy is undefined, but let's see why. Get all job type. Oh, this should be job types. I should be setting that property job type. Now it should work. Yeah, I had a typo. Sorry for that, guys. Okay, so it's, as you can see right here, when we reloaded the page, it basically made 3 requests, HTTP requests to this one here for the industry, for the job type, whether full-time or part-time, and then it's for the type of company. Okay, so this piece of work, it is working now. So next thing, in the next video tutorial, we basically now we can start writing our form. We will have our model, our two-way binding, all those kind of cool stuff. We're going to talk about those in the next video tutorial. Thank you so much, guys, for learning and then, and watching my videos and commenting, good and bad. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Learning is always fun. Thank you.